Once upon a time, there lived a woman named Awele. Awele was a market trader who lived in a distant village close to the famous Ifite hill. She had a son named Chibundu and a stepson named Akachi. Akachi's mother died whilst giving birth to him, leaving him alone with his father, who went on to marry Awele a few years after she died. Not so long later, his father died, leaving him alone with his stepmother, Awele. All these years, Akachi has lived with his stepmother, who despised him with all her heart. Whilst his stepbrother Chibundu went to school, Akachi accompanied Awele to the market to sell food items. She saw no reason why Akachi should be educated, so she stopped him from going to school, despite the fact that Akachi was extremely intelligent. Every night, when they returned back from the market, Akachi would secretly take his stepbrother's books to read, despite being so tired. He did this every day as he had plans to take the famous university entrance examinations. Akachi had always wanted to be a doctor and has worked diligently towards it, despite the fact that he was no longer in school. His brother Chibundu was a very unserious boy who barely went to school or wrote exams. One day, Awele sent Akachi to her neighbor's house to pick up some items and warned him not to delay. After picking up the items, Akachi was on his way back when heavy rain began to fall. He was asthmatic, so he looked for a place to shield himself from the heavy rain. When the rain finally stopped, Akachi rushed home to meet his stepmother, furious. She asked why he had delayed, and Akachi narrated that it was because of the rain. Awele then beat him up profusely and denied him of food for days. Despite this, Akachi still went to the market to help his stepmother despite being weak and hungry. Although Awele treated Akachi so badly, he still respected her and treated her with utmost respect. One night, Akachi was returning home from the market when he saw some boys beating up his stepbrother Chibundu. He stepped in to save his stepbrother, and when they returned home, Chibundu lied to his mother that Akachi and his bad friends surrounded him and beat him up. This got his mother furious as she began to beat Akachi and pushed him outside their hut to sleep all night. By morning, Akachi felt terribly ill because he had not eaten in days, but his stepmother and brother did not care. His stepmother still gave him a heavy basket to carry to the market, and on his way, he collapsed. She waited all morning and afternoon for him, but he was nowhere to be found. That night, she returned home furious, ready to beat him as usual, but he was nowhere to be found. All she worried about was her basket of food items she sent him to bring to the market that morning. For a few days, Awele had no idea where her stepson Akachi was and did not care to find him. For years, no one knew where Akachi went, and Awele and her son Chibundu moved on like nothing ever happened. Chibundu later dropped out of school and joined a clique of bad boys in the village. He soon began to steal from his mother, Awele, and became so disrespectful. His mother did all she could to make him a better man, but Chibundu was not ready to live right. One afternoon, Awele was in her market stall when a young man came in to see her. It was Akachi, who had grown into a very handsome looking man. Awele was shocked to see him and asked where he had been all these years. Akachi then revealed to her that on that fateful morning when she sent him to carry the heavy basket to the market, he collapsed by the roadside and woke up later to find himself in the neighboring village. He revealed that a young man who was a medical doctor saved his life, and after hearing his story, asked him to stay back as he was going to train him through medical school. So Akachi agreed and lived with the man who kept to his promise of seeing him through school. Akachi, at this point in time, was now a medical doctor, and Awele, on seeing this, began to dance, singing that she now had a son who was a medical doctor. She told him to follow her home as she had missed him, and Akachi agreed. When they got home, she prepared a delicious meal and served Akachi and her son Chibundu, who was yet to return from gallivanting around the village. A few minutes later, Chibundu returned and saw Akachi in their house. He was so jealous of his stepbrother as he could not believe that Akachi was now successful. When they got to the table to eat, Awele stepped out to grab something when Chibundu noticed that she had given Akachi the plate with the larger portion of food, and this angered him greatly. Is it because I'm not successful that my mother decided to give me this little plate of food? He thought to himself as he snatched the larger plate of food from the table and began to munch on it, saying that Akachi should take the smaller plate of food. When Awele returned, she began to scream as she saw her son Chibundu eating Akachi's food. Before Akachi could understand what was going on, his stepbrother ran mad in front of his eyes. What happened was that his stepbrother Chibundu greedily ate the food meant for Akachi, which Awele charmed. She could not stand the fact that Akachi was successful and her son was not. So, Awele wanted to ruin Akachi's life by making him mad. But everything backfired as her own son Chibundu ended up eating the charmed food meant for Akachi. That was how Akachi was saved, and his stepmother lived with the consequences of her actions as no one was able to cure her son's madness. The lesson to be learned from this story is that jealousy, greed, and mistreatment of others can lead to negative consequences that can ultimately backfire. It also emphasizes the importance of perseverance, kindness, and treating others with respect, even in the face of adversity. We should always remember that our actions can have far reaching effects that we might not anticipate. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.